Hello everyone, it's the 20th of October 2025 and I wanted to welcome you back to Change with Dane. I'm Dane Campbell and appreciate you coming back to learn some tips and ideas on how to make specific changes in your thoughts and in your behaviors. That's what we've been talking about the past few weeks. What I would really appreciate is if you could really quick hit the subscribe and hit the like buttons before we get going today. Everybody needs a little bit of help with change. It's a difficult process and I'm trying to get this message out to more people. So if you could do that for me, I would really appreciate it. So I've been thinking this past week about how we can help ourselves in this change process, because sometimes it can be a little bit draining, sometimes it can be difficult. And when we go through these types of things, especially if we're making the decision to do it on our own, right? We're making the decision to change a behavior, or we're making the decision to try to work with and change our thoughts. Sometimes that can be stressful and it can be a little bit difficult. All stress can be difficult if we don't have some way to sort of help ourselves through it. So I've been giving you specific ideas and specific tips on what you can do to be more effective when you do change. But when you've been working on that and you've been putting a lot of effort into your changes, whether that be thought or behavior, there might be some times when you need to do some self-care. There may be some times when you need to look at how stressed that's making you or how difficult that is for you, and do some things to help yourself feel more calm and more at peace, and to be able to take a little breather once in a while from those efforts that you're going through. And so in the next 2 or 3 videos, I think I'm going to talk about some ways that you can learn how to do good self-care to help you when you're going through this change. And the great thing about these ideas is that you can generalize them to other times in your life. Many of us go through things that are stressful. Many of us work very hard and we tax ourselves physically, emotionally, maybe even spiritually, if you want to call it that. And it sometimes requires us to take a step back from all of those things we do in our life and to regenerate, to put something back into the well, so that when we're continuing to make all of these struggles and efforts and the good things we're trying to do in life, and we go through the difficulties, well, how do we take care of ourselves? How do we build ourselves up when we're going through all of these things, and especially when we're going through change? And so I want to start having this discussion with you all about how you take care of yourself. Now, just like anything in life, the way that people deal with self-care, I would argue, is on a bell curve. There are some people who do this very, very well. They are 100% dialed in to what they need and who they are and when they need to do it. And so they can read themselves and say, wow, I'm overwhelmed and I need to take a minute to figure out what's going on in my life and to start to rest and de-stress. Some people are really good at that, and they're really good at giving themselves permission to take that time and to take that little bit of a breather from the difficulties in life and from the things that are overwhelming to them or have been difficult for them. On the opposite end of the spectrum, I think there are people who, number one, have a hard time giving themselves permission to even take a break. There may be people who don't know what to do, even if they take a break, to fill the batteries, to fill the well, to make themselves feel whole again. And I would suggest to you that there are even some people who may even feel a lot of guilt and a lot of shame for taking the time to manage the challenges and the overwhelm and the stress of life. And so the first part of this is just being a bit introspective and understanding where you fit on that scale, on that bell curve. Maybe you do this really, really well. Maybe you don't do it well. No judgments from me. What I am suggesting, though, is that to take a few minutes and to discover where you're at on this spectrum. And if you're saying to yourself, oh, self-care, I don't have time for that. I can't do that for myself. Or I don't even recognize or understand what that even means. Maybe it's time to slow the process down and see what it is you may be able to do to help yourself when you're going through those high stress situations, or you're even choosing to put some stress on yourself when it comes to some of these changes that we've talked about. I will tell you my personal experience on where I fit on this spectrum, and it's not good. I grew up in a high demand religion, and I chose a high demand career, being an officer in the Air Force. And both of those things contributed to me not understanding maybe how to take a step back, and maybe what were those things, even if I took a step back, that would bring peace and joy and real rest and real building to my life. Now, I am engaged in a process where I can learn more about myself so that I can do that better. And I will admit that I'm seeing a great therapist, and she's helping me understand who I am and how I can better take care of myself. It's not easy. It hasn't been easy for me to take a step back and realign some of my thoughts about who I am at this stage in my life and about who I can be and maybe what I even need to be at this point or this juncture in my life. So I'm not suggesting that each and every one of you have to do that process the way I'm doing it. There's lots of ways to get to this, but I'm going to share a few things that have sort of helped me in my journey. We'll probably go on a couple of field trips with some future videos so that I can show you some things that I've been doing or kind of tried to do to help myself in this process. And these answers that I have found for me, or I'm starting to find for me, I'm not suggesting that they're going to work for every one of you. I think this is very, very personal. The things that you choose to do when you have a moment to stop and rest and bring energy back into your life, they may not be the thing for me or anybody else in your family or anybody else that you even have connection with. And that's okay. It should be personal. Should be something that is just for you when you put that time on the schedule to bring some self-care and some love to yourself, to help you when you're going through stress or when you're adding stress to your life, when you're going through change. I'm excited to talk about this aspect, and I know that it might seem like this isn't directly related to the change behaviors and the change thoughts that you're working on, but I will tell you that if those things are impacting you, stressing you out, adding to your whole mountain of things that you have to do in life, this area of coping and building greater energy and greater care for yourself will help you in the long run to have the power and strength that you need to keep going on this journey. It's exciting for me to talk to you about these things. I'm grateful that you came back to listen. If you didn't do it beforehand, please hit like and subscribe. I want to get this message out to more and more people. We all need a little help with change, and certainly people can use this information to find greater peace and success in life. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a great week. You all take care.